companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
Studio 8H exploded into chaos after Colin Jost delivered one brutal joke about Meghan Markle during SNL's Weekend Update, triggering roaring laughter from the audience and an instant firestorm online. What shocked viewers even more was how comfortable the show seemed mocking Harry and Meghan in front of millions, as if the couple had suddenly become America's favorite comedy target overnight. Within hours, the clip was spreading everywhere across social media, entertainment blogs, and royal discussion pages. But behind the laughter, many viewers noticed something deeper happening. So, has public opinion around Meghan Markle shifted far more dramatically than anyone expected? So, what do you think? Has Meghan now permanently become the center of a global fairy tale? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. SNL sparks royal backlash. On Saturday night, May 2nd, 2026, something happened inside Studio 8H in New York that instantly sent social media into another frenzy. It was just another episode of Saturday Night Live. Until Colin Jost looked straight into the camera, delivered one sharp line, and suddenly Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were once again at the center of a storm they could not control. The moment was brief, but the reaction was impossible to ignore. As soon as Harry and Meghan's image flashed on the screen, the audience erupted. The laughter was loud, relentless, almost overwhelming. It was the kind of reaction that made the entire room feel like it was shaking. Even Colin Jost himself seemed caught off guard for a second, nearly breaking composure before quickly moving on. But outside the studio, something even bigger was unfolding. Within hours, that single joke had spread everywhere. Entertainment blogs reposted it. Celebrity commentators dissected it. Royal watchers replayed it over and over again. Across social media, people were all asking the same question. Why did one of America's biggest comedy platforms suddenly feel so comfortable openly mocking Harry and Meghan in front of millions? And perhaps the more surprising question, why did so many people seem to enjoy it? This was not some random off-the-cuff remark. Every joke on Weekend Update passes through layers of approval. Writers shape it, producers review it, lawyers often examine it. That means multiple people looked at that line, approved it, and believed the audience would laugh exactly the way they did. And they were right. That is what makes this moment feel so significant. Because not too long ago, Harry and Meghan seemed almost untouchable in American media. They were treated like global icons. Their interviews dominated headlines. Their red carpet appearances drew admiration. Their business deals, documentaries, and public statements were handled with careful attention. But now, something feels very different. Instead of polished headlines and respectful coverage, late-night television appears increasingly willing to turn their lives into comedy material. Every interview, every business move, every public appearance now seems just one step away from becoming another punchline. And this may not have started with this latest joke. If you look back exactly 1 year earlier, you begin to notice a pattern. Same show, same desk, same host. Another joke aimed at Harry and Meghan. Another burst of laughter from the crowd. Another viral moment online. Was that earlier joke the beginning of this shift? Did it quietly open the door for something much bigger? Something that signaled the public mood around Harry and Meghan had changed more than anyone wanted to admit? And if the laughter is growing louder each year, what does that really reveal about how America sees them now? Before this latest viral takedown, there was another SNL moment that may have started it all. Was that the first hidden sign that the Sussexes' image was already beginning to crack? Stay glued to your screen. Internet revives old SNL sketch. Long before Prince Harry and Meghan Markle became permanent fixtures in global headlines, American comedy shows had already started turning them into punchlines. And one show in particular seemed strangely ahead of the curve. Back in April of 2019, Saturday Night Live aired a mock royal family video that looked harmless at first glance. The sketch was built like a playful family recording celebrating the arrival of a royal baby, with actors performing exaggerated versions of famous royal figures, while the audience laughed through the awkwardness. But years later, people began looking at that sketch very differently. At the time, most viewers simply treated it as edgy late-night comedy, nothing more. But once royal tensions exploded publicly through interviews, documentaries, memoirs, and endless media drama, clips from that old sketch suddenly resurfaced all over the internet. Royal fans and critics started replaying certain moments repeatedly because the jokes no longer felt random. Some of them sounded almost unsettling in hindsight, as though the writers had somehow sensed cracks inside the royal family long before the public fully saw them. One moment especially grabbed attention. The fake version of Prince Charles appeared cold, distant, and emotionally detached while speaking to the future royal baby. The delivery was dry, uncomfortable, and intentionally awkward. The audience laughed immediately, but looking back now, many viewers believe that joke carried a much sharper edge than anyone realized at the time. Suddenly, what once seemed like harmless parody began feeling strangely close to reality. What made things even more fascinating was the fact that nobody at the network ever tried to soften the sketch afterward. There were no public apologies, no deleted clips, no rushed explanations. The segment remained online while certain punchlines slowly became viral internet memes, repeated by royal watchers for years afterward. Every time another royal controversy appeared in the news, those same old clips started circulating again, like they had never disappeared. And that is where the real power of modern comedy becomes impossible to ignore. Once the internet grabs onto a joke, it can live forever. A single punchline can suddenly become part of public perception itself. For Harry and Meghan, that meant they were no longer being treated only as royal figures. They were becoming recurring characters inside America's entertainment machine. Then the jokes became even more brutal. As royal scandals grew larger, other members of the monarchy also found themselves pulled directly into late-night comedy fire. By early 2022, Prince Andrew had become a constant target across television and online media. Weekend update segments on Saturday Night Live leaned hard into the controversy surrounding him, delivering jokes that felt shockingly blunt for national television. The audience reactions were immediate: loud laughter, gasps, even disbelief at how far the writers were willing to go. At the same time, Meghan herself became the center of another biting joke, suggesting that without marrying Harry, she might have simply remained an unknown actress trying to find fame elsewhere. The line landed hard because it played directly into one of the internet's biggest debates surrounding her rise to worldwide attention. But what truly shocked viewers was not only the cruelty of the jokes, it was the confidence behind them. By that stage, certain royal figures were no longer treated like untouchable symbols of tradition. They had officially crossed into something far more dangerous for public figures: recurring comedy material. And once comedians sense the audience expects another punchline, they rarely stop delivering. But this joke may have crossed a line nobody expected. Because what exactly was said that made the entire studio erupt while royal fans exploded online almost instantly? Keep watching to find out. The real joke behind the royals. What made the moment feel so different was not just the joke itself. It was how comfortable everyone suddenly seemed while laughing at it. During another weekend update segment on Saturday Night Live, the conversation began like a normal political comedy setup about trade relations between America and Britain. Nothing about it sounded unusual at first. The audience expected quick jokes about economics, politicians, and international deals. But then the camera shifted toward Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and suddenly the atmosphere inside the studio changed completely. Colin Jost paused briefly before delivering the line that instantly exploded across social media. After joking about a new trade agreement with Britain, he said the only thing Britain wanted in return was for America to keep these two. The audience erupted almost immediately. The joke landed because it tapped directly into years of royal drama, interviews, documentaries, family tension, and non-stop media attention surrounding Harry and Meghan. It reduced one of the most talked-about couples in the world into a single brutal punchline. And then the jokes became even sharper. Another segment brought up Meghan's old deal or no deal days before turning the attention back toward Harry's decision to leave royal life. The comedy painted Meghan as the woman who convinced a prince to walk away from royal privilege, status, security, and endless wealth. Harry himself was framed almost like someone who abandoned a golden life for chaos and controversy. The audience laughed loudly again, and that reaction revealed something much bigger happening beneath the surface. Late-night television no longer sounded nervous about mocking the royal couple. In earlier years, even small jokes about Harry and Meghan could trigger massive online backlash. Entire social media wars would erupt for days. But now the response felt calmer, almost effortless. The clips spread online rapidly, entertainment pages reposted them repeatedly, and viewers treated the segment like another chapter in an ongoing celebrity drama they could not stop watching. Then came another major turning point in 2026. Same show, same weekend update desk, same audience energy. Another royal joke appeared, this time involving Prince Andrew, and once again the crowd exploded with laughter. Within hours, blogs and entertainment outlets were already pushing clips from the segment everywhere online. But something else became impossible to ignore by that stage. The royal family had fully transformed into recurring comedy material for mainstream American television. Each royal figure started being reduced to a specific public image. Harry and Meghan became symbols of constant drama and media chaos. Prince Andrew became shorthand for controversy. King Charles was often portrayed as the exhausted father trapped trying to control a collapsing situation around him. Whether fair or unfair, those portrayals consistently generated strong reactions. Then, Saturday Night Live pushed things even further during the royal holiday card controversy in late 2023. Social media had already exploded with theories and arguments about edited photos connected to the Wales family. SNL quickly turned the entire online debate into a parody sketch, blending royal gossip, internet rumors, and celebrity culture into one fast-moving comedy bit that spread across platforms almost instantly. And that was when people truly began noticing the pattern. The jokes were no longer random celebrity humor. They reflected a major shift in how the public viewed Harry and Meghan compared to just a few years earlier. But before all these brutal punchlines and viral mockery, just how powerful were Meghan and Harry behind the scenes? And what exactly changed that made Hollywood, television, and even late-night audiences suddenly stop treating them like untouchable stars? Let's explore the details, from royal glamour to comedy target. Back in 2018, the public image surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle looked completely different from what people see today. At that time, American media treated them almost like the perfect modern royal story. Headlines felt glamorous, polished, and optimistic. Television hosts praised them constantly, magazines placed them on covers, and entertainment outlets framed Meghan as the bold new figure, bringing fresh energy into the royal family. To many people watching from the outside, she looked like someone capable of modernizing centuries of royal tradition. The atmosphere around the couple felt exciting. Their appearances attracted huge attention. Their interviews generated non-stop headlines, and every public moment seemed carefully celebrated. Hollywood loved them. Streaming companies wanted them. Media executives saw massive potential in their global popularity. Even late-night comedy shows treated them gently during those early years, usually focusing on playful royal humor rather than harsh criticism. But then, something slowly started changing. By 2019, comedy writers began noticing tension surrounding the couple. Small jokes started appearing about palace drama, awkward family dynamics, and Meghan struggling to fit into strict royal traditions. At first, the humor still sounded lighthearted. But underneath those jokes was the beginning of a major shift in how the public was starting to view the royal couple. One sketch on Saturday Night Live perfectly captured that change. During a fake royal family segment, Meghan was portrayed as someone constantly compared to Catherine, Princess of Wales. The joke focused on the idea that Kate followed every royal rule perfectly while Meghan did not. Yet Meghan still received enormous public attention. The audience laughed because the comedy touched directly on one of the biggest growing conversations surrounding the monarchy at that time: tradition versus disruption. And after that, the tone became sharper year after year. By the early 2020s, jokes about Harry and Meghan were no longer only about royalty. The comedy shifted toward interviews, family disputes, media deals, documentaries, branding projects, and non-stop publicity. Every new headline seemed to give late-night television fresh material. Instead of being presented as a glamorous royal fairy tale, the couple increasingly became symbols of constant public drama. That evolution is what makes the timeline so fascinating when you really step back and look at it carefully. The change did not happen overnight. It was gradual. Every year, the jokes sounded a little harsher. Every year, audience reactions grew louder. And every year, online discussions became more intense. At the same time, Harry and Meghan continued pushing forward with new projects, big interviews, streaming partnerships, public speeches, business launches, lifestyle branding, documentary deals. But comedy writers kept returning to the same core idea repeatedly: public exhaustion with endless royal conflict and media attention. That contrast became impossible for late-night television to ignore. While the couple tried to control their public image, comedians increasingly treated the entire situation like a never-ending celebrity drama playing out in real time. And once audiences began responding strongly to those jokes, the pattern only accelerated. What makes this even more interesting is that Saturday Night Live seemed to recognize something very early. The royal story was no longer just about crowns, palaces, and tradition anymore. It had transformed into something much closer to Hollywood celebrity culture, internet debates, and carefully managed public image campaigns. When did Jost really start all of this? And what was the first crack that set everything in motion? Because this didn't begin overnight, it has a clear root that most people missed at the time. So how did it all quietly start falling into place? And what moment first opened the door to this wave of jokes? Let's take a look. SNL, Royal Comedy Origins. A lot of people assume this entire wave of jokes about Harry and Meghan started recently. But the truth is, if you trace it carefully, the roots go much deeper than most viewers realize. The turning point did not happen in a single moment. It unfolded step by step, quietly building over years until the tone finally shifted into what we see today. The earliest sign goes all the way back to the royal wedding in May 2018. Harry and Meghan had just been married at Windsor Castle in a global event watched by millions. It was framed as a perfect modern fairy tale, grand, emotional, and carefully presented to the world. But that same night, something very different was already happening in American late-night comedy. On Saturday Night Live Weekend Update, the wedding was not treated only as a historic royal celebration. Instead, it was quickly reshaped into material for jokes. While the world was still reacting to the beauty of the ceremony, the studio audience in New York was already laughing at punchlines built around the idea of a prince leaving royal life for a Hollywood actress. The mood shifted fast, from admiration to satire in a matter of hours. That moment mattered more than people realized. It quietly introduced a new lens. Harry and Meghan were no longer just royals on a pedestal, but public figures who could be turned into comedy targets. Fast forward to April 2021. After the explosive Oprah interview dominated global headlines, Saturday Night Live again stepped in. The moment the reference appeared, the audience immediately recognized it. Within hours, clips of the joke were circulating across social media, turning a deeply emotional interview into entertainment commentary. What had been a serious conversation about the monarchy was now also part of comedy culture. That shift was important because it showed something new. These royal moments were no longer staying in news cycles. They were being absorbed into internet humor, reshaped, and endlessly replayed. Then came early 2023, after Prince Harry's memoir Spare became a global talking point. SNL pushed even further, producing a full parody sketch built around royal drama, media pressure, and non-stop headlines. The jokes were no longer subtle references. They were direct, structured satire, built entirely around the couple's public image. One or two lines from that sketch spread online and lived far beyond the show itself, repeated in comment sections, reaction videos, and entertainment debates. At this point, something had clearly changed. Every major Harry and Meghan moment was now feeding into a growing cycle. News headlines sparked comedy, comedy sparked memes, and memes sparked even more attention. By 2025 and 2026, the pattern had fully matured. Jokes were sharper, reactions were faster, and audiences no longer treated royal news with the same distance. Instead, it had become part of ongoing entertainment culture, shaped heavily by years of repeated satire. If you map it all out, you can see the evolution clearly. Gentle wedding humor in 2018, direct interview references in 2021, full parody sketches by 2023, and sharper public image jokes by 2025 and 2026. Nothing happened suddenly. It was a slow conditioning of audience perception, reinforced again and again. And social media only accelerated it further. Every clip became a meme, every joke became a trend, and every royal headline was instantly pulled into the entertainment machine. Over time, the line between serious royal news and comedy completely blurred. So the real question is not when it started becoming louder, but when the next stage of this shift first began to form behind the scenes, right before the audience even noticed. The new launch of the SNL version. What changed behind the curtain that made this next phase even bolder than anything before? Let's reveal every details. SNL goes transatlantic royal satire. Now the story takes a completely new direction. By 2026, what started as scattered late-night jokes in America had officially grown into something much bigger. The comedy wave was no longer staying in one country or one studio. It had crossed the ocean. A UK version of Saturday Night Live was launched, and almost immediately, it changed the entire landscape of royal satire. British writers and comedians stepped in with their own style, their own tone, and their own sharper way of talking about the royal family. From the very first episodes, it was clear this was not going to be gentle humor. The jokes were faster, drier, and more direct. They carried that classic British edge, full of local references, hidden meanings, and subtle digs that sometimes went over the heads of international viewers. But even if some details were missed, the message was always understood. The royal family had officially become prime comedy territory on both sides of the Atlantic. Certain figures kept appearing again and again. Prince Andrew became a frequent target of punchlines. Political headlines were turned into sketches. And Harry and Meghan continued to show up in stories tied to media pressure, public image, and the constant debate around their place in modern royal culture. At one point, a parody announcement even joked about a fictional spin-off tied to Meghan's past acting career, mixing Hollywood drama with royal life in a way that blurred reality and satire completely. The audience reaction was instant because it showed just how far this kind of humor had spread. What makes this moment so important is the full-circle picture it reveals. 8 years earlier, Harry and Meghan entered the global stage as a modern royal fairy tale. Everything around them felt polished and hopeful. The world saw them as a fresh, glamorous symbol of change inside the monarchy. Cameras followed them everywhere. Headlines celebrated them. They were treated like untouchable global icons. But time changed the tone. The more public they became, the more their story shifted into ongoing media discussion. Interviews became more revealing. Books and documentaries added new layers. Public appearances were analyzed in detail. Even their silence at times became part of the conversation. And slowly, comedy writers began building material from every angle of their public life. Each year added a new layer to the joke cycle. What started as light references slowly turned into structured sketches and recurring punchlines. And as social media grew stronger, every single joke, no matter how small, had the power to travel instantly across platforms, reshaped into memes, clips, and viral commentary. Now, whether people support them or criticize them, one thing is impossible to ignore. Harry and Meghan are no longer just public figures in royal news. They have become part of a global comedy loop where every headline can be turned into entertainment within hours. And that raises a deeper question about how public perception really shifts over time, especially when fame, controversy, and satire start feeding off each other. Why Meghan Markle became easier to satirize than Kate Middleton, and what hidden difference between them made comedy writers choose one target more often than the other. Let's find out. Why Meghan outshines Kate's satire. For years, Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton have been treated very differently in comedy and media spaces, and that difference has slowly shaped how audiences react whenever either of them becomes a topic of public discussion. While both women occupy similar positions within the royal framework, the way they are portrayed has created a growing gap in how easily they can be turned into satire. Meghan Markle's public image has been shaped heavily by visibility. From the moment she stepped into royal life, she was already a familiar face due to her acting career and her presence on social media. After joining the royal family, that visibility expanded even further through interviews, documentaries, and major media deals. This consistent exposure created a situation where almost every move she made became part of a larger public narrative. As noted in coverage from InStyle, Meghan's approach to communication has often leaned toward openness, where personal experiences and challenges are shared more directly with the public. While this strategy built strong engagement, it also meant that her story was constantly evolving in the media space, leaving very little mystery around her public persona. Kate Middleton, on the other hand, has followed a noticeably different path. From the beginning of her royal role, she has maintained a more reserved public presence. Her appearances are carefully structured, and she rarely engages in extended personal commentary. According to People magazine, Kate's image has consistently been shaped around stability, tradition, and controlled visibility, which reinforces a sense of distance between her private life and public persona. This has created an image that feels more consistent and less exposed to constant reinterpretation. The difference between these two approaches plays a major role in how they are treated in satire and comedy. In entertainment spaces, figures who are more visible and outspoken tend to become easier targets for jokes because there is more material to draw from. Meghan's interviews, public statements, and media projects provide multiple angles for interpretation, allowing comedians and commentators to build narratives around her actions and reactions. Kate, however, offers far fewer moments that can be reframed or exaggerated, simply because her public footprint is more controlled and less frequent. Another key factor is the contrast between mystery and overexposure. Kate's carefully maintained privacy creates a sense of distance that makes it harder for audiences to feel fully familiar with her personal life. That lack of constant detail limits how much satire can be built around her personality. Meghan's situation is different because her story is continuously present in global media cycles, from royal exit discussions to interviews and public projects. Town & Country has highlighted how Meghan's evolving media presence keeps her in ongoing public conversation, which naturally increases both support and criticism at the same time. Public sympathy also plays an important role in this difference. When a public figure is seen as reserved or private, audiences often project more caution when discussing them. But when a figure is highly visible and frequently in the news, reactions tend to become more divided and more open to humor or criticism. This does not necessarily reflect personal worth or credibility, but rather the way media exposure shapes perception over time. As a result, Meghan Markle exists in a media environment where she is constantly visible, frequently discussed, and widely interpreted, while Kate Middleton remains in a space defined by restraint, structure, and controlled appearances. That imbalance in exposure is a major reason why one figure becomes easier to satirize in comedy and media than the other, even when both occupy similar positions within the same institution. So, what do you think about Meghan's public image? Has she now permanently become the center of a global fairy tale? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.